It's been several hours since you last ate. There's no more food coming in. Blood sugar is gradually dropping, and without you feeling a thing, something remarkable begins happening deep inside your cells. This isn't your body going into starvation mode. It's shifting into a completely different metabolic state. After roughly 12 to 16 hours without food, the glycogen stored in your liver starts running low. Insulin levels begin to fall, and that single change sets off a series of powerful events throughout the body that most people never hear about. Your cells start identifying worn-out proteins, damaged cell parts, and accumulated waste, marking them to be broken down and recycled. It's a survival system that's been built into human biology for millions of years, long before scientists ever discovered it. Today we know this process as autophagy. Most discussions about autophagy focus on weight loss or living longer, but one of its most fascinating and most misunderstood roles happens inside your muscles. The way muscle tissue responds when autophagy becomes highly active is very different from what many people assume. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why. Imagine every muscle cell as a factory that never truly closes. Day and night, it's producing energy, contracting, repairing itself, and creating waste as a natural consequence of doing its job. Over time, damaged proteins pile up, mitochondria become less efficient, and tiny pieces of cellular debris slowly accumulate, reducing performance without obvious symptoms. Autophagy acts like the factory's maintenance crew. Fasting is what signals that crew to get to work. Inside skeletal muscle, this cleanup process is carefully controlled by specialized proteins, including Beclin-1, LC3, and the ULK1 complex. These molecules recognize damaged structures, surround them with a protective double membrane known as an autophagosome, and transport them to lysosomes, where they're broken down and their useful components are recycled. Research led by Masaki Komatsu found that when autophagy was genetically disabled in the muscle tissue of mice, the animals gradually developed weaker muscles and accumulated abnormal protein deposits, even without fasting. That finding showed something important. Autophagy isn't just a backup system, it's an essential part of keeping muscle healthy. What's even more interesting is that during fasting, skeletal muscle becomes one of the body's most active tissues for autophagy. A 2013 review published in Nature Reviews Molecular Cell Biology explained that muscle depends on continuous autophagic activity not only to remove damaged material, but also to help maintain energy balance. When outside fuel isn't available, muscles can recycle internal components to support their energy needs. That doesn't mean your muscles are eating themselves. It means they are managing their resources efficiently. One of the biggest fears surrounding fasting is muscle loss. Many people believe that going too long without food automatically causes your body to burn muscle for energy. Fortunately, human physiology is far more sophisticated than that. The common assumption sounds logical. If you stop eating, you stop consuming protein. Without protein coming in, your muscles must break down to provide amino acids. Therefore, fasting must equal muscle loss. But that's only part of the story. Your body follows a clear priority system when choosing fuel sources. During the early stages of fasting, it mainly relies on glycogen stored in the liver along with fatty acids released from body fat. Breaking down muscle tissue for energy is not the body's first choice. It's actually one of its last options. Classic research by George Cahill and his team, first published in the 1970s and still widely referenced today, mapped how the body changes fuel sources during fasting. Their work showed that meaningful muscle protein breakdown doesn't occur until fat reserves become extremely depleted. Autophagy adds another important layer to this picture. Instead of immediately breaking down the structural proteins that make muscles contract, muscle cells first recycle damaged internal proteins and worn-out cellular components. The amino acids recovered through this recycling process can be reused right away, helping meet part of the cell's needs without sacrificing healthy muscle fibers. Rather than falling apart, muscle tissue is quietly reorganizing itself from within. This naturally raises another question. If autophagy is so beneficial, when does it actually reach its highest activity inside muscle tissue? That's where the timeline becomes especially interesting. One of the most common questions researchers receive is simple. When does autophagy peak? The truthful answer is that there isn't one universal timetable because every tissue behaves differently. Muscle has its own rhythm, separate from organs like the liver or the brain. Understanding that timing completely changes the way many people think about fasting. In skeletal muscle, measurable signs of autophagy generally begin increasing around 16 to 18 hours after food intake stops. Scientists monitor this using markers such as LC3 activity, autophagic flux, and degradation of proteins like P62 in both human and animal studies. Research published in the journal Autophagy found that even a single overnight fast can significantly increase these markers in human skeletal muscle, with activity continuing to rise throughout the first 24 hours. Most available human studies suggest that the highest level of autophagic activity inside muscle occurs somewhere between 24 and 48 hours of fasting. During this period, autophagosomes are formed rapidly, and lysosomes are actively recycling damaged material. Of course, no two people are exactly alike. Factors such as metabolic health, previous diet, exercise habits, and training status can shift this window earlier or later. It's also important not to misunderstand what peak actually means. It doesn't mean autophagy suddenly becomes ineffective after reaching its highest point. It simply means that the measurable rate of cellular recycling reaches its greatest intensity before the body gradually adjusts and begins activating other adaptive pathways. After about 48 hours, the body starts fine-tuning the process based on stress signals coming from individual cells. Some pathways become more active while others slow down, which helps explain why studies on prolonged fasting sometimes produce different or even conflicting results. The key point is that muscle tissue isn't simply waiting around while all this happens. It's actively adapting. Among all the jobs autophagy performs inside muscle, one specialized process stands out above the rest. Yet very few people have heard its name. It's called mitophagy. Mitophagy is a highly targeted form of autophagy that focuses exclusively on mitochondria, the tiny structures inside cells responsible for producing energy. In muscle tissue, this may be one of the most valuable effects triggered by fasting. Every time your muscles contract, mitochondria produce energy, but they also generate reactive oxygen species. Over months and years, some mitochondria become damaged. These unhealthy mitochondria don't simply produce less energy. They leak electrons, increase oxidative stress, and may even activate pathways that lead to cell damage or death. Mitophagy acts as the cell's quality control system. Through mechanisms largely controlled by the PINK1 and PARKIN pathway, damaged mitochondria are identified, isolated, and removed before they can create more widespread problems inside the cell. Numerous studies examining fasting-induced mitophagy in skeletal muscle have shown that this isn't a sign of muscle deterioration. It's a protective maintenance process. Once damaged mitochondria are removed, the body can replace them through another process known as mitochondrial biogenesis, where new, healthier mitochondria are produced. Together, these two systems continuously improve the overall quality of the muscle's energy-producing machinery. This pattern has been consistently observed throughout research exploring mitochondrial quality control in skeletal muscle. The benefits are significant. Muscles containing a greater number of healthy, efficient mitochondria generate energy more effectively, produce stronger contractions, resist fatigue for longer periods, and recover more quickly after physical activity. This is one of the major reasons fasting has attracted increasing attention from sports scientists. Researchers continue investigating whether improvements in mitochondrial quality control may help explain some of the long-term effects fasting appears to have on muscle performance and overall muscle health. If you'd like, I can also rewrite the next part in the exact same style, so the entire script remains consistent. Although research in this field is still developing, the evidence gathered so far points to an important conclusion. Mitophagy triggered during fasting doesn't damage muscle cells. Instead, it selectively removes the mitochondria that were already dysfunctional and reducing the cell's performance. Another important detail is often overlooked. Not every muscle fiber reacts to fasting in the same way. This difference is rarely mentioned in everyday conversations about autophagy, even though it plays a major role in determining what actually happens inside your muscles during longer fasts. Human skeletal muscle is made up of two primary fiber types: Type 1 fibers, often called slow-twitch fibers, are built for endurance and continuous lower-intensity activity. Type 2 fibers, or fast-twitch fibers, are designed for explosive movements, speed, and generating high levels of force. These two fiber types don't function identically. They use energy differently, contain different numbers of mitochondria, and respond differently when autophagy is activated. Studies examining the metabolic characteristics of muscle fibers have consistently shown that slow-twitch fibers, because they contain a larger number of mitochondria and rely heavily on aerobic metabolism, activate autophagy sooner and more efficiently during fasting. This pattern matches findings from research by Jamaat, Mashaline, and other scientists who investigated how individual muscle fiber types respond to metabolic stress. Fast-twitch fibers tell a slightly different story. Since these fibers depend more heavily on glycolytic metabolism, they appear to be more sensitive to prolonged calorie restriction, especially through changes involving the mTOR signaling pathway. This makes them somewhat more susceptible to signals associated with muscle atrophy when fasting continues for extended periods. This distinction is important because fasting doesn't affect all muscle tissue equally. The slow-twitch fibers that support posture, walking, and everyday movement generally tolerate autophagy extremely well. Fast-twitch fibers, which provide explosive strength and power, require more careful consideration during prolonged fasts, particularly once fasting extends beyond roughly 48 hours. At that point, protein synthesis begins to slow and anabolic signaling gradually declines, creating conditions that may eventually reduce the size of these fibers if the fast continues long enough. Current research consistently supports this fiber-specific response. Different fasting durations place different demands on different parts of the muscular system, which helps explain why studies examining fast-twitch fibers after 48 hours often report more complex findings rather than simple yes or no answers. The hormonal changes taking place during fasting make this picture even more fascinating. If you really want to understand why muscle is often preserved during fasting, you have to look beyond autophagy and pay attention to your hormones. While your cells are busy recycling damaged components, your endocrine system is constantly adjusting how fuel is used throughout the body. Those hormonal shifts play a huge role in determining how much muscle is maintained. One of the most important hormones involved is growth hormone. When you fast, growth hormone production rises dramatically. Research conducted by Ho and colleagues and published in the New England Journal of Medicine back in 1988 showed that fasting can increase growth hormone secretion by 3 to 5 times above normal levels. More recent studies have continued to support those findings. Many people assume this means fasting directly builds muscle, but that's not exactly what happens. Because calorie intake is restricted, circulating levels of IGF-1 remain relatively low, so the body isn't in an ideal environment for significant muscle growth. Instead, growth hormone serves another critical purpose. It helps preserve lean tissue by encouraging the body to burn stored fat while reducing its reliance on muscle protein for energy. In other words, growth hormone shifts the body's fuel preference toward fat, helping protect muscle structure during periods without food. But growth hormone isn't acting alone. As fasting continues beyond about 24 hours, another hormone begins to rise: cortisol.